It is your boy, Black Ronin, back on at it again with another banger and fire video for y'all's out there today. There, y'all. Welcome on back to the channel. But guys, I really do gotta speak to the woman out there. I really do gotta educate y'all when it comes down to us light skins and mulatto men out here because there is a lot of misconceptions about us, and I really do got to make a detailed video about how a lot of us tend to move as a people, as a group of men, because like there is just a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of fuckery. There's a lot of slander on our names. And, like I'm just here as a light skinned dude really coming out here and talking to y'all about this because, listen, I always been one of those people like, I just know how to maneuver with stupid ass people and hate. Like I always just been a mentally strong person, but at the same time, I know how dumb the American society is. If you're a chill and laid back person, you know how to have some self-control. That's viewed as very, very weak in a lot of people's eyes. So they'll make up some fuckery on your name and keep that shit going. They'll tell it to this person, that person, and then it makes it to the mainstream. Then the mainstream, they say their own bullshit on us, and then social media spreading a bunch of fuckery on our name. So I'm here to really unfuck all this shit. So that's why I'm coming out here to enlighten a lot of women on if you do decide to go get with one of us, because the amount of fuckery that comes with it is just insane. So let's get on into it. So the first thing y'all need to understand about us light skins and mulatto men walking around, need to understand that we are very, very we're a very diverse group of men in terms of just the way that we were raised. We're a minority within a minority, so we're very, very unpredictable. So what do I mean by that? Now, in the terms of unpredictable, need to understand, because like with the light skin and mulatto man, there is either two categories you fall into. There is either a parent that was like pretty light skinned, like both of my parents, I had one parent really light skinned, so got some other genes and stuff down the bloodline. My dad, he's more brown skinned, so but he still got other stuff down the bloodline as well. So you got the multi-generational ethnic type of light skin walking around. But looking at me, I can easily pass for a mulatto walking around, which technically you can kind of call yourself that low key, because like your mom really, really light skinned and, definitely has other genes in her, for sure. You can definitely pass as that and still call yourself as that. But at the same time, I would still consider myself a multi-generational ethnic, racially ambiguous, light skinned, black person. I would definitely consider myself that. But in terms of mulatto, black parent, white mom, or whatever the case may be, in terms of how we raise and go through life, it can be very different. So some of us walking around, we can be going out here in life, and you may lean more to the, like literally to your white side. Some of us may lean more to the black side. And then you got motherfuckers out like literally out here like me that don't really care. So we just stay true to ourselves. We're not out here to prove anything to either side or nobody. We just operate in our true authenticness, which is very, very important. I think every light skinned and mulatto person should stay true to themselves. Don't try to pick a side. Don't think you have to prove yourself to any group. We really are our own group of people. Like I said, we're all really a minority within a minority walking around. The reason why I put us light skins and mulattoes in the same group, because at the end of the day, we're going to get the similar treatment at the end of the day. We really are, So if you're walking around looking like me, people got to kind of double look at you to kind of see what you really is and like ask you, hey, what else do you got in you? If you get those type of questions, yeah, you fall into that same category as mulatto, so mixed race, But you need to understand, all y'all women out there, yeah, we're a big wild card. So you're either going to have some really good experiences with us or really bad experiences with us, or kind of neutral, And you need to really understand that light skin and mulatto people walking around early on in life, they're going through a identity crisis at times. They don't really know where they quite fit in like that, but they really find themselves as they get older and mature and, really see more of other people like them, and they can really connect more. Thank God for the internet. But so you're gonna notice that aspect, like with us. But the light skinned and mulattoes that really stay true to themselves and they know who they are, we're a very, very powerful group of people. And you're very, very blessed to come across one of us. So, you need to keep that in mind. If you do come across a person like me who's very, very in tune with himself, he knows himself, he knows exactly where he stands in life. We're a very, very powerful individual. And when you come across us, you need to be very, very down to earth, and like you need to be a real ass individual to be with us. Because you think you're gonna walk up and just treat us like any other type of man, you cannot walk up to us and think that we're gonna get a similar experience like a darker skinned counterpart or a white counterpart. It's just not happening. Our experience is very, very different. Again, there are similar things I can relate to a darker skinned counterpart and also even a white counterpart when it comes down to life experiences out here. But y'all women need to really understand that because we're a minority within a minority and we're pretty unpredictable, it leaves the door open for a lot of slander and a lot of fuckery on our names when we're really a very diverse group of people within a minority within a minority. So you need to understand that. But at the same time, because of that, because we're a small group, but at the same time, we are growing in numbers, the light skins and mulattoes out here, we're definitely growing for sure. But y'all need to truly understand, is there one thing you need to know? We are the most hated group of men walking the face of the earth, especially America. We are the most hated group of men walking around. I need y'all to really, really drill that through y'all head. Now, why do I say this? If that wasn't true, we are the only group of men, if I'm being honest with you, that we put men and women in their feelings every time. Like guys, when I say I've seen the insecurities, that I've seen the fuckery from like everybody, it is insane, guys. Like from the man, the woman, like it is just crazy to me. How like silly a lot of dudes will act when you come around, and how easily you can just be labeled a certain type of way when it's just like, bro, this is just me. I'm just practicing normal human behavior, or the fact that if I'm like more mature, I come off a certain like a certain type of way, and I'm just like, bro, like, no, that's. But then when I snap off and go in on somebody, oh, now I'm the bad guy, now I'm doing too much, so like I've seen it all. So you have to understand, if you get with us, a lot of people is definitely gonna try us, for like they're gonna be like, damn, oh, light skin, handsome, and then with the stigmas that people threw on us, it opens the door for that, which is why I would see a lot of like basically a lot of people, they'll usually choose a darker skinned male. It comes down to women at times. Again, listen, us light skins, we still get success, mulattoes, we still get like success regardless. But at the end of the day, other groups of, people, they'll choose a darker skinned male at times just because they're automatically thinking, okay, at times, stereotypically, they're going to think more dominant and all this bullshit. At the end of the day, any man can really show out if they really want to. But you have to understand, as a light skinned and mulatto man, a lot of us are raised very differently at times. And also you need to understand that, listen, a lot of us tend to move very, very maturely, and we got the best self-control out of any man walking around. Like compared to white men, compared to a darker skinned counterpart at times, we know how to practice more self-control the most, which is really what takes us the farthest. If that wasn't true, why do we tend to make it to the highest of heights? If I'm keeping it a buck with you, because I think the biggest thing that holding back a lot of darker skinned counterparts is that, I ain't gonna lie, a lot of y'all ain't got the best self-control, at times. I think that's a big problem. And not just when it comes down to just women, because I notice with the darker skinned counterparts at times, y'all tend to go more savage with women and not really practice discipline, with your man downstairs. Same thing with the white man too, but a white man, he a bit more slick with it, but I ain't gonna lie, listen, if you're a melanated person, I ain't gonna lie, we do be showing out at times, but the darker skinned counterpart really do be doing the most out here. I can't even take it from him, but at the same time, it's just like when it comes down to self-control, I don't think y'all realize how much more as men that's more attractive to a woman, and especially you taking the time to get what you want. Because for me, woman has never been a numbers game. It's never been like that. I just want me a solid woman by my side. I'm like, that's just how I've been raised. That's how I just want. So I'm not trying to go out here and go from woman to woman. But even with my type of mentality, I still have to let a lot of women go because they come with the fuckery. They thinking I'm on this type of time when really, no, that's not how I move. And yeah, so I just keep that in mind. So just be ready for that. And also another thing, when it comes down to self-control, like, I feel like us light skinned and mulatto men, we know how to control our emotions better than any other men, which is why honestly, that's the reason why we piss off so many men and we get a lot of slander on our names, because we know how to just play shit off and just keep it pushing. But at the same time, it's like, see, me personally, I never been that type of dude that just finna go pop off on somebody for no reason. Like, if you don't put your hands on me, like, we good. But at the same time, growing up, it's just like, I just know, because I'm on the East Coast. And if you're on the East Coast, you really do got to watch how you say and how you say it to certain people, because that's really the difference between life and death. But at the same time, like, I know in like school and stuff, I'm not stressing about school. Niggas always going to say some shit. But at the same time, it's just like, I'm just one of those people. Like I said, if you don't put your hands on me, I'm just finna keep it pushing, because I know how Florida niggas be. If I pop off and really speak the way I just want to speak at people at times, I already know how bitch made a lot of dudes tend to be. It don't matter the race, but especially Hispanics and especially other darker skinned blacks at times. Every time I pop off and I really go too hard, it's like they be in their feelings. They want to tell motherfuckers. They want to try to get a nigga in trouble. They want to send a nigga to the office. I'm just like, bro, you a bitch ass nigga, And it's really hilarious. That's why a lot of us, if you see us alone and we don't really fuck with a lot of people, it's not because we think that we better. You have to understand, because there is a lot of hatred and jealousy towards us. We only want the realest and coolest people around us, So if you on some peaceful shit, you not on no fuckery, then yeah, come around us. We good. But if you coming on some hating shit, that's not even worth it. We gonna disappear quick, because you also have to understand too, with a lot of us, we tend to look for greener pastures in life. And compared to a lot of our darker skinned counterparts, not to say they don't go far, and same thing, white dudes, not to say they don't go far either, but I feel like the man that's most dedicated with his faith and drive and able to really excel no matter what anybody throws at him, it's the light skinned and mulatto man. Like, this is why some people would just say, man, like, these guys are superhuman. It's for that reason, and it's really for all the fuckery that people throw at us, on the regular. And which is why we tend to really stick to ourselves, and we don't really fuck with nobody like that. It's not out of hatred, but it's just like, I'm not about to waste my time with bad energy. And that's really how a lot of us is. We operate very, very high Q. A lot of people can't really seem to wrap their head around that, but America's a very retarded society anyway. But I digress. So if you get with one of us, if it comes off like we don't really deal with people, we do. But you just need to understand, like, we're just not going for no fuckery. Like, we just know how much hatred it's going to be. So if you can handle the hate, you can handle losing some friends. Because if you're a woman, you're going to lose a lot of friends. I already know for a fact a lot of girls that you're with, hanging with, they're going to hate you. They're probably going to disown you for fucking with one of us. Especially one that knows himself. He has a sense of direction. He knows what he wants out of life. If you see a man on a mission, y'all need to really get on board with these men. I know they ain't got the most money at times, but do you really want to be that girl that gets left behind once that man pop off? Because there is not a lot of disciplined men out there who really keep shit going. So you really do got to stick around these type of men, because I'm going to be real with you. When it come down to spiritually and emotionally strong, you really can't beat the light skinned and mulatto men walking around out here, because it's really ingrained in us to kind of just maneuver that way. Because we just know that we're a threat walking around anywhere that we go, because we know niggas gonna get in their feelings. We know women gonna get in their feelings. Like, we just know that for a fact. Especially as you look decent, you hit the gym, bro, that's a deadly combo walking around. And you can be the coolest person ever. And now, that's just being a more of attractive man in general, but it's even worse for us as a light-skinned and mulatto dude, because we're more of a rarity, and a lot of people don't really know how exactly we work, and they may see some fuckery on the internet or on TV and think that that shit is valid, but really, motherfucker, you just got to sit down and get to know us, but that's not a lot of people walking around today. But and then another thing too, when it comes down to us, because we don't fuck with a lot of people, at times we may come off a little bit socially awkward at first, because we don't communicate as much. But like I said, that's a good indicator that this person, he keeps good energy around you, so if he comes off a little nervous at first, that means, yeah, he really do fuck with you, but at the same time, he a little nervous because, yeah, he do like you as well. So keep that in mind if you're a woman. But and then in terms of our confidence, we get our confidence very, very differently from a lot of other men. See, most men, they get gassed up by other men, cheered on and shit. A light-skinned man, he not finna get cheered on like that. He the last group of person that's finna get any type of cheering on by anybody, in my personal opinion. This is why we win in the spiritual department, because if we got God on our side, we got God and, we're very spiritual, yeah, we decimate every man on the face of the planet. And that's really how we get our confidence a lot of times. It's usually spiritual, and that's really what makes us so strong and a force to really be reckoned with. So so you're a man like that, you're a minority within a minority, and you got God on your side. Oh yeah, your confidence is, it's on a whole nother level, and a lot of people can't fuck with it. So you have to be very, very mentally strong to deal with us and understand, like, if you come to us with certain problems, it's for, like, a lot of times it's not really going to seem like it's much, when I hear certain woman's problems and what's going on in her life. But don't take it the wrong way. It's just, as a light-skinned mulatto dude, we're used to so much fuckery on the regular. So whenever we hear other people's problems, we look at it and be like, damn, man, that's really not that bad. But really with us, but at the same time, that just goes to show you how much people really hate on us, but that's a good thing, because now that makes me stronger. Now that makes me a bigger threat even more. So that really, y'all helping the motherfucker, so yeah, just keep all that in mind. And now, in terms of when it comes down to how we move in terms of dating and everything, like I said, we like the realest people around us. So when it comes down to dates, we're going to open up to you once we get on that first date, and we're going to vet you properly. That's usually how we're going to do it. If we know ourselves as a man and we know what we want and we're very, very direct with it, yeah, that's usually what we're going to do. Another thing too, y'all need to understand about us, we really, really go for emotional connection more than anything, because compared to any other group of men, I don't think no other man other than us, we really value emotional connection with a woman more than us, in my opinion. Like, I'll talk to some darker skinned homeboys, like some of them, I mean, like a few of them will move like that, but at the end of the day, like, I don't meet a lot that really be moving when it come down to the emotional connection with a woman. And then with a lot of white guys, I be noticing, that shit too. They don't really be on a woman when it come down to their emotional connection. This is why I say we know women the best. I feel like we get the best partners because we go through the most fuckery out of everybody. We get the most slander on our name. So, with that, we just got our guard up at all time. So if we let you around, we really do fuck with you. So if you're a woman, do not fuck that up, because you won't get another shot. You just won't. And then another thing too, we tend to go very, very far in life. And a lot of times, some of us, we have a big glow up, and then some of us, hey, we always been a decent looking person, but we tend to go very, very far in life. And you need to really, really pay attention to that. If you see a man showing types of talents and patterns, you need to really, really jump on them ASAP, because you don't get a lot of those chances throughout your life. And another thing too, going back to good energy, we're going to move to where the good energy is at. So if you're expecting this man to stick around in chaos in a city that, not really for him, he's not that type of dude. He's not going to sit around in chaos. This man will definitely make moves. That's how we typically move. And listen, if the East Coast ain't for us, which I don't plan on going back to the East Coast, we're going to get out of there. We're going to make our way and we're going to get out of there. So, we're always looking for greener pastures, and just really pursuing peace. We really care about our peace the most. I would say more than any other group of men walking around. Another thing too, we're not in competition with everybody. Motherfuckers are in competition with us, which is hilarious because we just be doing our own thing a lot of the times. We're not trying to conform to any societal norms. At least a good amount of us. You do got some, they want to identify with the hood shit, the hood culture, and some they want to identify, with the whiteness and everything. Like I said, we're a big wild card walking around, but a lot of us, we're really down to earth people. Don't let all these people, like, basically what you see on TV, what you hear from your friends, don't let that shit dictate anything about us. Another thing too, we got our own type of style. When it comes down to us being in the mirror, because I do hear that notion be thrown around a lot. Oh, they're always in the mirror and shit like that. Like I said, we get our confidence a different type of way, because we don't get our confidence being cheered on by anyone. It's very rare anybody cheers on a light-skinned mulatto male. It's extremely rare. We're the last group of men to get cheered on or get applause, So we perform hyper more than any other men, because that's what really gets us going. That's what makes us happy. That's what really takes us even farther. That's why no man can really match us in that department, So if we're in the mirror a lot, we're growing so much as a person, and we're truly loving the person that we're becoming. It's not to show off. I mean, yeah, it's to show off a little bit at times, but that's another thing too, why we show off like at times. But going back to, why we're in the mirror so much, we just enjoy seeing the progress of ourselves, because you got to understand, we get hardly any cheering on in our real lives. So for us growing as a person, that really makes us happy. So y'all women need to truly know that. But cheer on your man if you're going to get with us, cause we get no motivation at all, so really God is our motivation at the end of the day. That's really how it is. You're a light-skinned mulatto man walking around. So keep that in mind. And another thing too, why we tend to show off a lot. If a light-skinned mulatto man shows off a lot and he's really doing the most at times, like I said, we get a lot of haters. We get a lot of hate. So if we showing off, it's just to piss off people. It really makes our day at the end of the day. It's either for that reason or we just enjoy what we're doing. We love in life. So yeah, we're going to show off, but that's just how we do it. That's how we move. To a lot of women, that can come off a certain type of way. But like I said, it takes a very, very strong woman to be with us. So if you're not on that type of level, you're not willing to understand why that is. But like I said, you got to be a strong individual type of woman to deal with us. Another thing too, I got to get into, because a lot of women think, especially black women, they'll look at you and how you move, how you dress, and they see how unique you are, how you talk, the things that you're going for, and they automatically assume that, oh, he only likes white women. He likes this particular type of woman. And that's not true. A lot of black women need to really get out of that notion that just because a man looks a certain type of way, just because he dresses a certain type of way, that doesn't mean that he only wants white women. A lot of us light-skinned mulatto dudes, actually, we're cool with a lot of different women. It don't matter if you black, white, we're very neutral when it come down to women. I would argue a darker skinned counterpart, they be the ones that be more on that kind of colorist shit. I gotta call it out, on that light skin, primarily type of woman that they be going for, versus us, yeah, we love our light skinned woman. We love the darker skinned counterpart. We love the white woman. But at the same time, I will say this, because there's a lot of women that get very, very misconstrued with us when it comes down to that. But when it comes down to the look, if you see that a man is fit, he looks decent, and you see that he's light skinned, and he's like, you need to very understand that he's not gonna just take any type of woman. Like, he want a woman that's gonna be fit like him. He want a woman that understands him and sees the vision and willing to join in on that. Like that's why I say you gotta be a very strong woman and in your spirituality, divine energy to be with us. So if you're not in that, the relationship just won't work. So yeah, you gotta be fit. You gotta look appealing. You don't have to be out of this world, but if you hit the gym and stuff, yeah, you gonna be good. And this is my type of woman. And we're talking about dark skinned black women. This is what I like. Something like when it comes down to white women, this is what I like. I don't really deal with like Hispanics as much, just because yeah, I'll still deal with Hispanic women, but I ain't gonna lie, man, shit has been a headache. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I do the best with either black women, dark skinned blacks, or white women primarily. But if I deal with Hispanics, I like them to look more like this. And location does matter. Like, I feel like with me, I gotta be in a environment that's more multicultural. It's gotta be definitely more Midwest or West Coast. So, that's usually where I do the best. And gotta have somebody that goes outside. We go camping, we'll go, I don't know, just go outside, do something, go for walks. And I'm a very simple individual, and also okay with me doing YouTube, seeing that that's my vision, YouTube, acting, and building in certain areas of life. And also do want to move outside the country. So a woman that wants to build and go overseas with me, that's a big plus too. So you got to understand, we're very unique type of people, and I need y'all to really understand that. So you got to be on game when you do try to get with us. So, but yeah, that's really all I got to say when it comes down to us light skins and mulattoes out here, how we move. But I just had to make this quick video. Let me know what y'all think to all the women. Any light skinned dudes out there, mulatto men, did I miss anything? Let me know. But it is your boy Black Ronin. Like and subscribe, share. Y'all take it easy.